Hi everyone, hope you're doing good. Yesterday night I uploaded the video on the FAQs on NP and the RBI circular of 7th April 2021. I have been receiving a few queries thereafter, both on WhatsApp and otherwise. So the other videos. So this was the fifth part of my Bank Audit 2021 video series. I had actually originally planned to record the changes which have happened in the LFAR during the current year by the Reserve Bank of India. In fact, the changes are very many. So I had initially thought of recording it separately and uploading it for your benefit, but as you know, I tested positive last Sunday, so preparing for it and then again going through the entire process is a little difficult for me. I'm in the 9th or 10th day of my quarantine period, so because of this, and also because I think all of you have already started the bank branch audits, and you would be probably completing a few. So I thought, instead of spending another 1 or 2 days before I'm able to upload the LFAR, all important LFAR changes, I thought, why not upload the recording of earlier with LFAR. So what I'm going to do in that webinar. So the first video, that is the video which is to follow, this would cover the part up to the other assets. So primarily the assets and the liabilities is what is covered in the LFAR, and also of course the profit loss and other heads. So in this video, what we'll be covering is the cash balances with RBI, etc., which is very rarely you get one in the branch. Money at call, again, would be not applicable. Investments and the all important changes which have happened in advances and other assets. Friends, even for the sake of repeating it, I would again remind you that whenever you're doing the LFAR this time, in fact you should have, I'm sure you would be doing it earlier too, but please ensure the documentation of your LFAR is perfect, because earlier it was you could get away with giving general answers, but now the questions, as you would see, are very specific, asking you to exactly, in fact, confirm the coverage you've done on the LFAR. So even the advances part, they've divided it into advances where you do a transaction audit, and the other where you do a process audit. So friends, I do hope you like this. Happy watching. Broadly, the impact of the revised LFAR, where the institute has also come out with a technical guideline. Rightly said, Sharad Bhai initially said that this is a very detailed document, and I think you can go the other way around, that other than your own audit program which you have, I think the LFAR can be used as a wonderful audit checklist or a program. You would also require to include in the management representation letter specific confirmations in the MRL, because there are various new paras which have been added during the current year. Friends, I think Sharad Bhai ne kaha tha ki earlier years we probably had one person along with an article filling up the LFAR. थोड़ा सा disagree करूँगा, because तब भी questions थोड़े से बहुत important थे, because they talked of sanctioning, disbursement, supervision, monitoring, they were very, very important questions. But even then, I think, because itne saal ho gaye the, that all of us were thought that it's more like, a ghosh jilani or a form which had to be filled. Whereas questions were even then important, but now they are far-reaching. They have, number of questions which would take you a lot of time, which would require you to do a lot of exercise. Expecting any branch to be over by 1 or 2 days. I think, with this LFAR, unless you do not do an honest job, as Sharad Bhai asked all of us to do, one would not be able to do it. And like I advised earlier, the LFAR adverse observations have to be, singled out and then mapped to what I am reporting in my main audit report and also the report on the IFCO FR. Documentation, I think you'll have to do a real strong documentation as per SA 230, because jitne bhi questions hain, they are all confirmations which the RBI is asking. And now I think, we cannot fall back on many things on, various standards and auditing of the institute that, we did an audit, we did a test check, etc. यहाँ कहीं कुछ नहीं चलेगा. CVS reports पे काफी depend करना पड़ेगा. Then there is another para in the advisory of the RBI circular which says that additional paras can be added to this particular LFAR by the SCS. So, it's not necessary if I am doing, let's say, Canara Bank and Sharad Bhai is doing State Bank, तो उनके और मेरे पैरा सेम होंगे. It's something, जैसे एग्जामिनेशन में कभी कभी होता था ना कि somebody अगर चीटिंग कर रहा है तो he says यार 2A बताओ, तो उसने 2A का आंसर कर दिया, बट देन यहाँ 2A मेरा और शरद भाई का डिफरेंट हो सकता है. So if I copy Sharad Bhai's 2A, maybe, irrelevant. And then a very, very important difference which has been brought out is the transaction audit and the process audit. This is, going to totally change the way you're going to do bank audits. Okay. This is 22nd March. So 19th, 20th and 22nd March and 23rd March. These were 4 important dates with respect to bank audits. 19th, the technical guidance on IFCO FR. 20th, the technical guidance on, the bank audit guidance note came out. 22nd, this revised LFAR pay technical guide, and 23rd, the Supreme Court. So what I've done is, we've taken up which are the paras which are new and which are the paras which have been amended. And so we'll go through this. We have around 30-35 slides. It'll take around half an hour. But then, we'll delve upon only those paras which are important, and the others, one can see, this para relating to cash, it only requires branch auditors to ensure that the balance in the branch books in respect of cash with respect to ATMs is also balanced with the year-end scores, etc. In fact, many of us, even when this para was not there, we were already doing, some of us, I remember, were already also carrying out physical verification of the balance in the ATM and carrying out the exercise of mapping it with the books and the year-end scores, etc. Then the balance with RBI, SBI, etc. I think, earlier the para said that if there are outstanding entries pending to be reconciled for more than 6 months, now it's talking of more than 15 days only. Basically a fallout of the CVS, because, most of the reconciliations nowadays are being done through data, so which is obviously a faster process. Now, this is another thing which I think, in pehle bhi logon ko milta tha, but now the RBI has inserted a new para which says that, if the branch does maintain an account with the RBI, the currency chest, then what we as auditors need to do is we need to ensure that the entries which are originated prior to 31st March 2021 but have been recorded let's say in April 2021, in relation to currency, either deposit or withdrawals, vice versa, then I would require to reconcile this by passing an MOC, obviously. So, what they want is that it should not be in float. The balance which has originated prior to, let's say, I drew some money, I am depositing some money from the currency chest to the RBI. So I have shown it as an exit on 31st March 2021, and this gets deposited into RBI on 1st April or the 2nd of April. So this has to be accounted for in the books of 31st March 2021 and should not be shown as an exit from the branch stroke bank. Money at call and short notice, 100%. I think we would not have cases in branches, but what it talks of is year-end balance confirmation, confirmed and reconciled, and interest accrual. Not relevant to us. Investments, all points which were related to investment for branches in India have been omitted. So obviously that means this particular para is not relevant to us as branch auditors. Now this is the most important para which has changed the entire way we look at and we check. Advances, the RBI says that in respect of the old LFAR, when it defined large advances, it said that 10% of the aggregate advances or 2 crores, whichever is less, was the large advance. Now, this particular LFAR, it says where the aggregate is 10% of the fund-based and non-fund-based advances, or 10 crores, whichever is less. So if you go to a branch which is, let's say, 50 crores and 10% of the fund-based or non-fund-based, 50, I'm talking of both fund and non-fund, or agar 50 crore hai, so my figure would be 5 crores. So all advances of 5 crores and above would become the large advance and not 10 crores. And if it is the other, if I'm going to a branch which is 200 crores, then automatically my cutoff large advances would be 10 crores. Now comes the important part. The RBI says that, for all large advances, which is the account advances above the threshold limit, I need to do a transaction audit. And account specific details have to be checked and commented upon. And with respect to the rest of the advances, I need to do a process audit, which probably also relates to the FAQs, the IFC. So a transaction audit would mean that, there is a kind of a confirmation I'm carrying in respect of all advances. Maybe, आपके branch में हो सकता है ऐसे 10 अकाउंट आए, 15 अकाउंट आए, जो कि आपको लार्ज एडवांसेस के डेफिनेशन में करना है, and rest of it is a process audit. And large advances, this is of course my opinion, large advances, I would say that I would not be able to use the SA 530 in terms of sampling, because I need to give the details of the advances which are falling under the definition of large advances and which I have checked. However, when I do a transactional audit of the large advances, I can probably do a materiality this thing, and then download or import the transactions of that particular large advance and then do a transactional audit. The guidance in part B for branch auditors, it says that for all accounts above the threshold, which is the 10 crores or 10%, the transaction audit account specific details to be seen and commented upon, whereas below the threshold, these are RBI quoted statements, and I have not changed it. The process needs to be checked and commented upon. Comments of the branch auditor on advances with significant adverse features. Significant is not defined, but I think you can do a subjective study and take significant as being anything which is material as per SA 320 only, which might need attention of the management or stroke SCAs, should be appended to the LFAR. So If there are control weaknesses in the process controls below the large advances, I would need to do I would need to report on the controls and also upon certain paras. And agar the adverse features in all large advances, this definitely will have to go as a report to the management of the SCA. The critical comments based on the review of the above and other test checks should be given in respective paragraphs as given in the LFAR. So LFAR अगर आप देखेंगे जो नए पैराज आए हैं, बहुत चीजें आई हैं, there to my mind with respect to advances below the large advances part, you may probably be able to comment that okay, इसमें मैंने test check करा and I have checked only on a random table basis 20 accounts, but for the accounts which are large advances, the confirmation with respect to those questions would have to be complete. Let's go through the questions. I think it'll be easier. Now, ye hai a list of accounts examined. That means suppose Sharad Bhai does a branch and he identifies 18 advances which are large advances. He would have to append in his LFAR in the table format which is given in the circular the following details. That is the account name, the balance at the year end, non-fund, fund-based, outstanding, kitna percentage examined. So basically, it will tell us of the total percentage of transactions which I have covered, right? So if it's a fund-based total advance is 100 crores, and I check 5 accounts of let's say 55 crores. So my total confirmation is up to the extent of 55% of the transactions, of course, based on the materiality as per SA 320. Now, credit appraisal mein, now here it says, have you come across cases of quick mortality? In cases quick mortality, obviously, I think all of us know that it has to be where accounts are declared NPA within 12 months from the date of first sanction. Please remember, it is the first sanction. And if I find any of these cases, the account number, the name and the balance at the year end has to be given. Now, question 2 mein dekhiye, whether in borrowal accounts applicable interest rate is correctly fed into the system. Iska kya matlab hua? That means, at least in the respect of those 9 accounts, jo maine large advances identify kare, I have to map the interest rate in the CBS with my sanction letter or a subsequent review letter or a subsequent letter where I've been given some concession by the management in respect of being a good borrower. So, I cannot just say, no, all applicable interest rates have been correctly fed into the system. In my document, I will have to say that, boss, I checked these 9 accounts and I have mapped it to the sanction letter or the concession letter, whatever, wo document karna padega. And similarly, and also, other than that, for a process check, other than those 9 accounts, I'll also have to do a random test on maybe a sample of 15 to 20 accounts. The best option would be to, for these, create a random table from the Excel and select those accounts instead of being a, selective where you'll have a personal bias. A quick mortality, इन्होंने देखिए जब names of accounts मांगा है, तो obviously it will those 9 accounts of the large advances have to be there. And other than that, so one would be those accounts which have been declared as NPA by the bank, by the branch. Number 2, those which are declared as NPA by you through MOCs. So both of them would have to come in B2. Now, whether interest rate is reviewed periodically as per the guidelines as applicable to floating rate loans. Now, these are normally in respect of, the CCOD, etc. These are done at the head office level because all rates would be based on whatever the MCLR or the EBLR plus whatever, risk I've added. So maybe, if I've added 50 basis points, I would have to check it. But wherever the bank rate has changed over a period of the year 2021, I would have to ensure that the interest rate has been reviewed or changed in the thing. So when I'm doing a change for the large advance, I can seek confirmation in this. B5, again, see this important question. Have you come across cases of frequent renewal rollover of short-term loans? I mean, these were oft repeated questions by members. Boss, rollover kar dete hain, and they continue this. Now, what they're saying is, if there are instances, please report it. And if yes, give details of such accounts. Also, correct and valid credit rating, has it been fed into the system? So my large advances, if they are all above the limit fixed by the bank for external credit rating, right? वो large advances ko to 110% I have to check into the system whether the rating has been correctly fed, because based on that rating, my interest rate based on MCLR plus whatever addition I have to do in terms of basis points will come. So this will be, again, every question I'm answering has to be based on those large advances I identified and the sample I'm doing for the process check of other advances. This is again a new para. In the cases examined by you, have you come across instances of credit facilities having been sanctioned beyond delegated authority or limit fixed? Agar aap, if you see your report on the other legal and regulatory requirements, every year on year, we have been giving this confirmation in the audit report of SA 700. Specific confirmation, we have not come across any cases of sanction beyond the delegated power of the branch. Now here, it is talking of credit facilities, but it is talking of beyond the delegated authority. Now, this is what I was saying. I cannot say that, yes, in these two cases, the credit facilities have been sanctioned by the branch manager beyond the delegated authority. And in my audit report, I give a confirmation that it is within the thing. So, these are contradictions which we have to be very, very careful. B, same, इसी के लिए पूछ रहे हैं, are such cases promptly reported to the higher authorities? Now, C3 is, a very difficult task. It says, did the bank provide loans to companies for buyback of shares or securities? See, where it's a listed entity to pura SEBI or सबके notices, सब चीज होंगे. Maybe you can go on SEBI's site or the BSE or NSE की site पे and look for such instances. But what happens to unlisted companies? वहाँ, how do I ensure that the जो bank ने दिया loan, it did not use it for buyback of shares or security? I mean, it's a very, very tough task. So when answering that, we need to be very careful. We need to do all possible external checks and other checks to ensure that the loans have been used for the purpose for which it was given, and definitely not for buyback of shares or securities. अभी तक drawing power आप सिर्फ you used to give it to one of your articles कि 4-5 check कर लो. Again, E2B is asking us to confirm, has the drawing power been properly computed? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible.
Okay, no, actually the light is gone, so maybe not sure. Internet chal raha hai, nahi chal raha. So if the drawing power has been properly computed, means that I would have to ensure that the DP is properly computed as per, number one, the guidelines of the bank, number two, the sanction letter which gives us the margin, etc. And I would have to document this in respect of all the loans which are large advances, and also a few cases other than the large advances. Now earlier, agar aapko yaad hai, to question was ki 10 lakhs and above mein whether we've taken the audited financial statements. Now the question is whether the latest audited financial statements have been obtained for accounts reviewed, renewed during the year. So in case it is not done, I'll have to clearly say that it is based on projected or provisional financial statements and not on the audited financial statements. Here, I would also recommend that, in at least the large advances, you can probably do a check on the MCA and see that the audited financial statements, if they're already available and the review has been done not based on the financial statement, then I think, we can report it that the latest audited financial statements have not been used. Again, cases where, Atul Mehta has raised a hand.
Anil bhai, there is one question for drawing power.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Proper computation of DP.
Yeah.
Now, how as an auditor we will define proper computation? Because in most of the CC cases, creditors are not being reduced from the from the current assets part. Is this a proper computation or not?
No, it will not be. So that is why I said what we will need to do is we'll have to map it to two things. Number one, what are the bank's own guidelines with respect to computation? Number two, the sanction of the particular borrower, because particular borrower would say that, this is the margin in respect of raw materials, this is the margin in respect of debtors, etc. So wherever you have a doubt, and here, even cases where, for the audited accounts and the stock statements are showing substantial differences between the creditors, the debtors and the stock. In my opinion, I think, we would all have to bring it out and then say that, the drawing power is being calculated based on this. We should not be answering in the affirmative that drawing power has been properly computed.
I think this is a new point. This is the new point this time.
Yes. Wherever there are new paras, on the top of the slide, I've said new paras.
This is very we have to give.
So we'll have to be detailed in this. We'll have to, because especially in respect of the large advances,
yes.
Others may not make such a material difference, but in respect of large advances, one would have to ensure that the DP, and you are rightly said that, the creditors is a major issue.
Yes.
Where everywhere this is,
they are not being checked. They are not being checked.
Yes. Secondly, correct. I think another thing which is will happen in the next year, they're not this year, when CARU 2020 is going to come into effect. Now, CARU 2020 is given a new responsibility on the auditor, stating that, all statements which are filed by the management with the bank's financial institutions, are they correct and do they map with the books of account? आपको दो तरफ से As an auditor, I am also required to comment in CARU 2021 and confirm. And as a branch auditor, यहाँ भी मुझे देना है. So that is why E2B, I would never advise that, you give a clean picture unless, everything is there.
Yes, the proper word is very proper, is very great emphasis is to be given. Thank you, Anil bhai.
So E3C, again, cases where stock audit was required but was not conducted. So you'll have to, find out from the bank's guidelines above which stock audit is to be carried out in respect of standard accounts. Or agar usme nahi hua hai, so you just have to report in the E2, E3C para. And also it says where stock audit was conducted, but stock audit report auditor ne aapko 15 point diye adverse observation, but I have not taken any action on that. So, this is more kind of hands-on and more proactive in terms of, what will happen to the stock auditor's report. Then again, a new para, does the branch have on its record a due diligence report for advances under multiple banking or consortium? So, generally, before you take on an account which is in multiple banking or consortium, we write to the earlier bank and ask them that are there any issues? So do we have an NOC? Although this falls under the review monitoring supervision part of the LFAR, but I think this due diligence report basically which I could understand, but I think we could also refer to the technical guide on the institute and see which due diligence report are they referring to. So here they say that give the list of accounts where such certificate or report has not been obtained or is not available, and in case the branch is not the lead bank. So if I'm the lead bank is somebody else, then I have to take a copy of the certificate or report from that lead bank for review and record. If you see the IRAC norms also, where the lead bank has taken all the proceeds with them, and they are holding it on behalf of the other member banks, then one needs to take a confirmation from the lead bank that that particular bank is holding, let's say, 50 lakhs on our behalf, and only then can we continue it as a standard account. Again, a new para: whether there is a substantial deterioration in the value of security during the financial year as per the latest valuation report in comparison with the evaluation report. Now here, substantial has not been defined. I think substantial could be 50% or more, or maybe a little less. That will be subjective based on the materiality. Now here, an audit procedure which we can add is we should map all the NPAs where collaterals have been taken as security with the CERSAI portal to ensure existence of the same. See, as of now, let's say I have 10 NPAs in my branch, and uske against sabke against collateral security diya hua hai. One way of checking it is that I ask them to get from the locker all these title deeds, check them, which is of course a very time-consuming process. Now, ever since the CERSAI portal has come into existence, generally jahan bhi ye title deeds registered honge, so you would find that they have a registration number put there. So with the help of the branch, you can ask them to give you a copy of the CERSAI portal registration, which you can also use as a document proving that collaterals existed on that date. Again, new paras, red flagged accounts. Now this red flagged account basically relates to accounts which are have a total exposure of 50 crores and above. It does not mean that it will not be applicable to us, because RFA, if you have read the RBI circular of 2016, वहाँ जो early warning signals है उसी में इसको refer भी करा है. So I may be doing a branch where the limit of my borrower is 1 CR, and the rest of the 49 crores of 50 crores is with respect to is in other 10 to 11 banks. Now here what it says is that whether the branch has any red flagged account. Now what the 2016 circular talks of is अगर वो early warning signals उसमें जो 43 parameters दिए हुए हैं, and the bank finds that there are 3 to 4 early warning signals, then as per their understanding they should red flag that account. Okay, red flag meaning that अगर एक कोई भी account red flag हो जाता है, then within 6 months, if the RFA or those weaknesses do not go away, I need to classify that account as a fraud account. So please ensure कि कोई भी RFA account अगर है 6 months के ऊपर date of red flagging है, so that has to be a fraud account, or else I need to report it in the MOC. An RFA cannot continue as an RFA for more than 6 months. Or अगर MOC का उसकी जगह नहीं है, तो I need to report it to the management and the statutory central auditor. Now the problem is, how do I find out कि ये RFA flagged है या नहीं? Now normal course में I in respect of all the large advances and advances where you have selected as a sample, you would require the branch to give you a copy of the latest CRILC report. CRILC report में एक specific column होता है whether the account is red flagged or not. So let's say XYZ is the borrower, उसमें Canara Bank is the branch you are doing, and there are 9 other accounts. Now, so 9 other borrowers जो हैं, suppose out of that 5 of them are already red flagged, it will say that these are red flagged accounts and they are doubtful one. So automatically आपके अपने case में you can definitely then press that since it is red flagged by the other banks, you also need to red flag it. So the main document for all of you in this is a copy of the CRILC report in respect of all the large advances and the select advances which you have taken as sample in the process audit. The transaction audit mein, my advice would be take CRILC reports in respect of all, test the red flagging in respect of all the accounts. This is a modified para. It says, has the branch identified classified advances into substandard through computer system without manual intervention? Now this is again going to be a very difficult task because CBS does not identify accounts in many cases as an NPA. You may have, surround softwares where it is being declared. Although I think CBS, those saal se to, most of the banks, we are declaring it as NPA. But only thing is the provision, etc., comes in the other surround softwares. Now, another modified para is whether the branch is following the system of classifying account in SMA 012 and whether it is correctly classified. Now, SMA 012 automatically, generally, I think you can do a test case. जब आप CRILC report निकालेंगे, तो अगर SMA 012 होगा, तो 30, 31 to 60, 60 to 90, this is the classification which is there as per the RBI Master Circular of July 15. So just do a test check of the selected cases and across all the accounts which are in the large advances category. New para again, list of accounts which have either been downgraded or upgraded with regard to their classification. So agar koi bhi account NPA hua, obviously you'll be checking it. But more important is which are the accounts which have been upgraded during the year from NPA to standard or from doubtful one to standard or any other thing. And similarly, going by the same this thing, whether RBI guidelines on IRAC have been followed. So income recognition and provisioning obviously would be, please check the provisioning norms of the bank you are doing, because there could be some accelerated provisioning. It would not, it's not necessary, it is as per the RBI's circular. And income recognition also, one needs to ensure that the recoveries are made in the order of appropriation which the bank you are doing has in its accounting policy. Agar aapko nahi mila, please ask the bank to provide it, and please ensure that the appropriation is done in respect of interest and not in respect of charges, because before interest you would have to recover the charges and then the unrecovered interest, the undebited interest, etc., based on the specific accounting policy. Branches reported accounts restructured or rephased. Jaise yahan se, here you are required to specifically report the restructured or rephased accounts, because if the branch has reported it to the controlling authority, obviously you will get a list of those accounts and ensure that there are no accounts other than those reported to the controlling authority. So ye ek reconciliation kar lijiyega that there are 10 accounts which have been reported to the zonal office or the regional office as restructured, whereas in your test check or in your checking, you're finding that there are 12 to 13 accounts which are restructured. So wherever this is, then F2A you need to report to the contrary. F2B, whether RBI guidelines for restructuring on all such cases have been followed. So all the circulars we were talking of, we need to ensure compliance. Agar compliance nahi hai, and if I say it is, guidelines have been followed, then I'm giving an affirmation in respect of at least those 10 accounts. And in case subsequently during the RBI AFI audit, agar unko milta hai ki account galat restructure hua tha, and if they ask you to reply, is going to be a very tough task. Replying to that, especially when I've replied in the affirmative in F2B that RBI guidelines for restructuring have been followed, at least in respect of the transactional audit large advances. Then F2C, whether the branch complies with regulatory standards for resolution of stress test. Again, wherever these circulars of June 19, August 20, various other, whether it has been complied with. Again, a new para, whether upgradation in NPAs is in line with norms of RBI. Yes, the RBI clearly says when everything which is in default has been recovered, only then can I upgrade an account from NPA to standard. Where the auditor agrees with the upgradation of accounts, if yes, reasons thereof. So if that means here it is not only whether it has been complied with. I also have to say that why do I agree with the upgradation of accounts, right? So if there have been 3 accounts where accounts have been upgraded, I also have to say that these are the accounts which are upgraded, and these were upgraded in terms of the RBI guidelines, wherein all dues stroke overdues were recovered on the date of upgradation. Whether there are any accounts wherein process of IBC is mandated but not initiated. Now this is something which probably would not be applicable in most of the branches we do, but if they do, but most of them would not happen this year because there was a moratorium till now, and now within the next 7 days I do not foresee banks approaching NCLT within such a short period. Modified paras, DICGC, ECGC, because DICGC is no longer in existence, so it has been changed to credit guarantee of ECGC and others. New para, it talks of details of claims rejected and whether the rejection is appropriately considered while determining provisioning. So primarily, if there is an ECGC claim, and if I'm showing it as a deduction in the NPA provisioning requirement, then if the claim has already been rejected and but it is lying in the Sunday creditors or the other liabilities, then I will not be considering these ECGC claims and will have to provide for 100% of to the extent which I have reduced in the ECGC claim. Interchangeability between fund-based and non-fund-based. So here it is saying list of instances where interchangeability between fund-based and non-fund-based was allowed subsequent to devolvement of LC invocation. This is something where you'll have to do a lot of work, because number one, you'll have to identify all cases where LCs were devolved, all cases where BGs were invoked. After that, you will have to see जब ये primary operating account में debit हुआ LC devolvement या BG invocation, whether I use the interchangeability of fund-based from non-fund to fund-based. See, whenever the interchangeability of fund-based and non-fund-based is sanctioned, never is it from non-fund to fund-based. It is always fund-based to non-fund. So, agar koi devolvement hota hai, so number one, my first audit procedure would be, I see all 100% cases of LC devolvement invocation. Second, I see whether post the invocation, has there been a use of the interchangeability? If it is, has it been from non-fund to fund-based? I cannot increase my CC limit from LC limit or BG limit. Then other assets may, stationery stamps has been deleted, intangible items, a loss is not provided pending investigation, ye suspense sundry mein add ho gaya hai. So, I'll have to follow that. Are there any intangible items which I have debited to suspense sundry, which I should not have? Or if they have been debited, are they lying since a long time? Have they to be expensed off? I mean, these are inquiries which one would have to make. So friends, that was about the changes which have been made by the Reserve Bank of India with respect to the assets. please don't forget to, thoroughly go through the technical guide on the LFAR, which the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has taken out. And do get back to me in case you have any issue. And I would prefer that if you send the issue to me on my WhatsApp number, which is there on the screen for you to see. And to avoid typing, so I generally prefer I would send you a voice note. And in case you still have an issue, of course you can again revert back. I'll be more than happy to give you a clarification as per my understanding. Okay, friends, thank you. See you. Bye-bye. And do have a look at the description box of the videos I'm uploading, so that you can you get reference of the other videos I've uploaded till now. So starting from the first video, which was the video on the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court order on the NPAs and interest on interest. So this is the 6th part, and I plan to complete the LFAR in the next part, which would be the 7th part of this Bank Audit video series of 2021. And if time permits me, I'm also planning to upload one video with respect to the agriculture loans, because I have been receiving a number of queries on a daily basis, because a number of members, I presume, are doing audits of rural branches where the agriculture loans are very many. Also, I've been receiving requests for guidance on online audit, because the remote audit, one would say, because very similar to what happened last year, when because of the COVID situation, none of the teams could actually visit the branches. So people are facing issues as to how do we actually do a remote audit. So again, if time permits, and it's we do not reach a point where you've already completed the branches, we'll try and also upload one video on the nuances which are required to carry out a remote audit. Okay, friends, see you. Bye-bye, and stay safe, because right across India, I think another 2 or 3 days, maybe we may reach a position where we start reporting cases up to even 2 lakhs. But then as auditors, because I think most of us need to go out of the offices, so do maintain the social distance, do wear mask, and preferably wear 2 masks, and wash your hands as the Ministry of Health has been advising you. Wash your hands as frequently as possible. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.